Welcome to Not Our Business podcast, where it's not our business, but we're going to talk about it.
This is a podcast exploring and discussing true crime, conspiracy theories, and the unexplained, and whatever rabbit holes we find next.
I'm Sydney.
I'm Kate. And what if I told you there are laws about sleeping in cheese factories, butter substitutes, or that it's illegal to play dominoes on Sundays in the United States? I don't know about you, but that sounds a little nuts to me. There are some weird laws that have been created and are still in effect today, and then there are laws that are just folklore, and that's what we're diving into today.
Yes, we're going to talk about these odd, weird laws that some were enacted quite some time ago, some are still enacted today. And one of the first ones we're going to look at is in Nevada. And in Nevada, in the early 19th century, there was mines that were going on. So
There were what?
There were mines.
Okay.
And so the US government decided that they were going to import camels to help with that work. So there were camels that were imported and brought to the Wild West. And they quickly realized that camels were really demanding to work with. And they would spit, they would kick, they were rough. And so what eventually ended up happening is people just let these camels go. And what happened is that when they let the camels go, it would venture out into the highways and the streets. And some people would ride these camels, thus leading to the law of camels being banned from public roads. And so that is something that you could be fined for, and you could spend 25 to 100 days in jail for riding a camel down the road.
Okay, so it's riding a camel. So if there's free range camel,
right,
that's one thing, but
yeah,
it's just you can't saddle up and go down the oil road.
Actually, and when I read it actually just said like camels in general. Then there were other interpretations that yes, if you saddled them up. But the issue is that the camels would go into the public roads and they would scare the mules and the horses. And so then, because they were the ones that were actually carrying the product, right?
Yeah.
And so then these mules would get all freaked out and everything, be destroyed.
Yeah.
So I found that one pretty interesting. Also, you could be fined between $25 and $100, which was a lot of money.
I'm finding a lot of these odd laws throughout the states. There's a lot of animals involved because the next one, in Fairbanks, Alaska, it's illegal to give a moose alcohol. Poor moose.
What?
In the early 1910s, a local tavern owner had a pet moose and would frequent the bar with him. Maybe it's how he got to and from home.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. It had to be.
When the moose came in, the tavern owner would give him alcohol, which ultimately led to the moose becoming drunk. I wish there was video evidence of this because this would be all over TikTok.
Absolutely.
The moose in its drunken state would have rampages which caused damage. This ultimately led to the law making it illegal for a moose to enter a saloon or business coming straight off of the public sidewalk.
Isn't that wild?
Again, with the animals, we're really trying to crack down on them, starting in the 1900s.
And even the Alaska ones that I've seen, I mean, there were a lot. Like, you can't whisper in somebody's ear when you're moose hunting, but apparently that's not real.
I don't hate that law, though. Like, don't sneak up on me and then whisper something into my ear. I would probably shoot you.
Like,
not to be mean, but...
Who's whispering to somebody in their ear with a gun, like, while they're shooting?
And it's Alaska. There's like 4 people in 100 square miles. Who's gonna hear you?
More than 4 now.
Yeah, next generation. They're up to like 26 now or something.
Well, if animals weren't rough enough, they actually talk about peanuts in Alabama.
Moving down south.
Good at it down south. And Alabama had a lot.
I saw a few for Alabama as well. The Southerners really are fun.
I love the South. It is one of my most, coming from the South and living there and then coming back and then going, it is one of my most favorite places to live because the people, the color, the culture,
You really have a little bit of a Southern twang too. You not like a heavy Southern accent when you talk.
Yeah.
but some of your personality I can tell is Southern and how you say certain things.
Yeah.
I remember getting into an argument with you one day at work where you're like, God, I didn't get to the grocery this week. And I was like, grocery store? And you're like, the grocery store? You're like, I don't call it that. I'm like, it's a grocery store. Why are you leaving off store? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know. And come to find out, that's a Southern thing.
I guess, but you're not the first person to have ever said that to me. And it's funny that you said it because somebody else brought it up, and I was like, it's a grocery. Like, why are we splitting hairs? Like, I'm going to the store.
I like to
What other
argue.
thing am I going to call a grocery? But
So,
no,
anyways, back to the peanuts in the South.
the peanuts in the South. So in Lee County, Alabama, it's illegal to sell peanuts after sundown on Wednesdays. Now, what's hilarious about this is I really tried to find some information. Like, where did this come from? Why? Why Wednesday? Like, what was
Who
happening on Wednesday that we were like peanuts?
who ruined the peanuts on Wednesdays after sundown? What happens? I want to
Who
know the
ruined
story.
this? I couldn't find any documentation. It actually says on there they're not really sure how it came to be. But if anybody knows, I am so interested.
Definitely. I want the details on that one. So moving back into the animals, we're going East Coast here.
Yeah.
California. California's crazy as it
West
is.
Coast. It's okay because I mix it up all the time.
So anyways,
Back
we're
to it.
moving West Coast to California. You can imagine they have some pretty crazy laws. In California, if a
Mhm.
if a frog participates in a frog jumping contest and dies or is killed, the frog cannot be eaten and must be destroyed or disposed of immediately. Mark Twain wrote a short story in 1865 called The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, which held a mining camp in California. Frog jumping contests became popular after May of 1928. It's just getting too wordy. When a, I'm over it. I'm over it. This is so long. May of 1928, when a real-life contest was organized and drew at least 15,000 spectators, along with 51 competitors from across the state. They must be like hauling their pet frog over to California with them.
Guys.
In 1957, due to the popularity of the contest, the law was implemented. Hence, the illegal consumption of a frog after it dies, if it was in a frog jumping contest.
Exactly.
Insanity. Who's eating frog,
But
anyways?
all I know is that I do have a frog.
Hey there, buddy. Thanks for
Chilling.
joining.
Just
Have you
like,
ever eaten frog?
yeah, I've had frog legs.
You are from the South.
Yes. So, like, no, I get, like, they were like, why would we waste it? But
But who
then they
got
started eating it, and it came from, like, the side of the road, and they got sick. I'm sure it has to do with litigation at the fair or at the contest.
well, in 1865, were there county fairs happening? Were there
Oh, yeah,
counties back
they
then?
had to be, right?
I don't know.
We
You're the
should
history
Google the
person.
history of the county fair. Okay, this one,
I'm so excited.
this next one, I had to do a double take. So in Delaware, it's against the law for a pawnbroker to accept an artificial limb or wheelchair as a form of payment.
Who abused that?
So I did some digging. Apparently, in 1907, early 1900s,
In the 1900s, they were really trying to get a handle on all that crime happening.
I think it's just people were going wild. But the issue lie in that there was a lot of financial hardship during the time, and so people were just trying to like live, and so they would take their wheelchair or their artificial limbs, and they would try to pawn them. And they can pawn their limb, okay,
Yeah.
but the pawnbroker could not accept it as a form of payment. So in order to save people, their equipment, so they were mobile, they had to implement this, and I don't know if anybody's tried it since, but there's a statute. It's Delaware Code Title 24, Chapter 23, Section 2307B.
If
It's
you're
legit.
interested, you can reference it. There it is. Codified law.
And it's deemed a misdemeanor, and you can be fined up to $5,000.
So in the beginning, we talked some are just silly laws, some are folklore. These
Yeah,
are all actual laws
these are
to
all
this
actual.
day.
Yeah. Now, I will clarify. I think the one in Nevada, I think in 20, I'm not going to quote the year because I can't remember. But I think that they went through and they updated a bunch of laws, and I believe Alabama did this as well, where they went through and
Mm.
anything that wasn't applicable anymore, they went through and they kind of like abolished it. But these other ones, like Delaware, straight up, don't be giving your wheelchair or your limbs.
So New York has a law that regulated shoe shines being illegal to conduct after 1 p.m. on Sunday. When I read this one, I didn't think it was all that crazy because of how they explain this one. Now, the law was really in place to regulate and restrict business practice on Sunday to preserve the Sabbath. So here in South Dakota, I thought it was actually maybe even in some counties, it's illegal to sell liquor or alcohol on Sundays.
Yeah.
I was mind blown when we moved away from the
Hmm.
town that I grew up in to where I live now and realized there's bars open on Sunday. That was, I thought, illegal. It might just have been
It might have
whatever,
been,
but
yeah.
small town southeast South Dakota, it was the Sabbath and everybody recognized it.
Yeah.
So reading this one, I didn't think that one was all too crazy.
I didn't either. When we lived in Iowa, they weren't allowed to sell cars on Sunday. I believe it was Iowa. So like, and I always
Yeah.
thought that was so weird because I had never experienced anything like that before. But yeah, just like you were saying, it was like, oh, well, that makes sense, you know?
Yeah. So, however, in New York, you were able to be a shoe shiner that operated inside a hotel while the street vendor was prohibited on the
Mm-hmm.
Sabbath.
Then in Newark, New Jersey, try to say that 10 times fast. It's not really a law, it's more of like a legend that it was illegal to purchase ice cream after 6 p.m. without the written permission of a physician. Like, incredibly specific again. But this legend kind of came about because in the early 20th century, when ice cream really came about, became super popular, people thought it was just really frivolous, a
Mhm.
waste of time. But, like, have you had ice cream? I think
Who
not,
eats
because
it?
you wouldn't have done this.
Who eats it before 6 p.m.? That's like a get cozy on the couch as you watch your shows at 9 p.m. and then you go to bed with gut rot kind of thing.
I'm eating it from sunup to sundown.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue that.
But they also thought, like, because the evening hours, that should really be for connecting and hanging out and not eating ice cream. But clearly, the world has spoken and it's got to go. But this never really actually was, but it does look like it's a little bit of a legend there that I'm sure they tell their kids, like, if they don't want to get ice cream that day, they're like, sorry, it's after 6 p.m. and we don't have a doctor's note.
They're closed.
The classic parent excuse, they're closed.
All right, so moving on to Arkansas, and this one is a little bit more modern day. We're not back in the 1900s. I feel like I'm winded.
You are. Just take a breath. I need my inhaler. I'm losing light. It's progressively gotten darker.
Arkansas is the largest rice producer in the U.S. They account for 40 to 50% of total rice production. And in 2019, a truth in labeling law was passed that stated that anything that did not contain actual rice could not use the word rice to market their product, that it is now illegal. So, for instance, cauliflower rice cannot be labeled with the word rice. And this is for any product sold in Arkansas. An out-of-state company would incur a $1,000 fine for their product. However, the product can say riced cauliflower.
This one unique because
I like this one.
I like it. I like the concept of truth in labeling. But rice? We went after rice?
Of all the stuff that we eat and is in our food,
All
we're
the
worried
truth
about.
in labeling that we could have been doing.
I mean, they do make 40 to 50% of the rice in the US, so I mean, they have some power there. But that's the hill we're gonna die on.
The majority of the ones that we talk, I think I need to turn a light on.
I think you need a light.
I like all of the previous laws
Hold on, we
were
need to address the candle in the room. Can you at least point out why there's a candle in your face?
next laws that we're going to talk about are legend.
Oh, that is
Ooh.
fitting, actually.
Okay, now I'll turn a light on. So I know this will be a little bit stark for everybody, but it started getting dark outside. This next one is interesting because it actually circulated to a couple different states. However, it's not true, but they say it's illegal for you to walk down the street with an ice cream cone in your pocket.
As it should be. This is a legend law, like this isn't an actual.
Yeah, it's not real, but what it does stem from is horse thieves. So what horse thieves would do is they would put an ice cream cone in their back pocket or something, a carrot, anything along those lines. They would walk by the horse and then they would start walking away, and guess who's going to follow?
Coming full circle, this makes sense. Instead of banning like horse thievery, we're banning the ice cream cone in the back pocket.
Yeah, solves the problem. It's not the worst, you know?
So another folklore, quote unquote, law. In Arizona, it is illegal for a donkey to sleep in the bathtub.
Who knew?
Where did this come from? The story goes that a farmer had a donkey that liked to sleep in an old bathtub, but when the local dam broke, the waters washed the tub along with the sleeping donkey away. Due to the amount of effort it took to rescue the donkey, the local government passed a new law making it illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. So that was too damn hard. Keep your donkeys out of the goddamn room.
I just love that one. I love a good animal in a tub, you know?
All of these are animal based. Again, that one is more of a folklore one, but
Yeah.
that might be one of my favorites.
And the other one that gets mixed up, either you'll hear that it's in South Dakota or in Wisconsin, but you can't fall asleep in a cheese factory. That's illegal. However, it's a misinterpreted law that you just can't have somebody literally having a residence or sleeping on the premises where food is made and distributed. So that was another one that was popular.
Well, you said South Dakota or Wisconsin. I'm like, I don't think South Dakota has cheese factories, but I think there is at least actually one. East River.
Really? Because I also was like, I didn't know we had a cheese factory.
Called Dimmick cheese.
Dimmick?
Dimock.
Nothing was close to what I said.
No, I think you can actually find it in gas stations and convenience stores out here. I pass it every time I go home, like to my parents. So it's become quite large, but you can't sleep there.
No, absolutely not.
Sticking with South Dakota, this is a very big hunting state. So as you can imagine, there's some very specific hunting laws. And one of them is that you can't just spotlight wildlife at night. So what does that mean? You can't like go up to a field with a big old spotlight and look for animals. Even though you're not necessarily hunting them or have the intent to shoot them after dark, you cannot spotlight them.
In Florida, you're not supposed to do that on the beaches either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're supposed to use like red flashlight because people do like crabbing and stuff at night. And there's sea turtles and other stuff that comes out at night, but it'll blind them.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's the same for South Dakota, but
yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of nighttime hunting that happens in South Dakota, like for coyotes, foxes.
Yeah.
A lot of trapping, that kind of stuff, those kind of rodent animals. Big sport here. My husband knows a little bit about the spotlighting laws, but we won't dive into that.
I love it.
But this is for any fields, pastures, wooded areas, prairies, and during the nighttime hours or after dusk, I think is what technically is considered nighttime.
I mean, it says 10 p.m. to sunrise, September 1st to January 31st.
Oh, yes. It gets dark at like 5:30 in the winter here, though. So you've got some hours to get some stuff done if you feel you need. There are exceptions, though. Landowners and occupants can have up to 2 guests use certain lighting on their land. And violating this law is a Class 2 misdemeanor. And you'll probably lose your hunting license and that for a certain period of time.
Jeez Louise.
They crack down on their hunting here.
And our last one is Adultery is still legally recognized in the state of South Dakota. South Dakota's current statute still specifically defines adultery as voluntary sexual intercourse involving a married person or someone to whom they aren't married. So, this means that this can be grounds for divorce, which I feel like is justified, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go outside the contractual agreement, you should be able to break said contractual agreement based on your action.
Yes.
And I don't think a lot of states have that anymore. A lot of them have done away with it.
I have
Um,
heard that some states are moving to actually criminalizing adultery. I don't know the depth of that, what states they are, and if they have actually passed, but I have heard of talks of states trying to implement something like that.
yeah. Yeah, I think anytime we're trying to do something like that, that's such a sticky moral. That's a
Hmm.
personal belief. I'm not saying it's right. It's not how I feel.
It's
Uh,
the church and state thing.
People got to figure it out on their own sometimes. Sometimes we can't
Yeah.
tell everybody what to do, what they can't do, you know? But I do think that it's an interesting law.
Guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Not Our Business podcast. We know this week was a light, short episode, and we hope you guys enjoy listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. Follow along with us as we continue to dive into true crime, history, conspiracies, and self-discovery topics. You can find our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for new episode alerts, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on what we're doing next. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.